Those fans, what's up? Stream looks good. It's crazy to see myself so clear, to be honest with you. It is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. To not see myself like skip in, hitch in, giddy up in, whatever. Man, seeing these videos makes me realize how bad the other ones were. But let's get right to the nitty gritty. Bills, and I was thinking about this the last. It's crossed my mind several times that you see what the other teams, the other 8 teams looking for coaches are going through, the type of candidates they've been pulling from, the guys that have been hired. I mean, pretty much all head coaching vacancies have been filled, all 8. And I've said this so many times in my own head and to other people that I am so glad the Bills do not need a head coach this offseason. I am so glad they don't have to try to pull from this current pool of candidates. Maybe the only couple I could have gotten my hopes up with is Arians. Would have had some trepidation, obviously, with his age and his health, and McCarthy. I'm here in North New Jersey where Jet fans are up in arms because they feel like they got their bottom barrel choice or their third choice, where McCarthy was the big fish, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning coach, a coach with a lot of gravitas, a lot of on his resume. And a lot of people just say, well, that was Aaron Rodgers. Well, you could say that about any coach. You could say that about any coach that's had a great quarterback. So I mean, everybody wants to try to take credit away from McCarthy, but they also don't want to give him his due credit. Granted, the relationship soured there. The message got stale. You know who that sounds like? It sounds like Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Andy Reid had a long tenure in Philadelphia, had his run with Donovan McNabb. Had a few stints. One stent with Jeff Garcia, got to the playoffs. Worked with a lot of quarterbacks and won. Tried with Kevin Kolb, quickly to Michael Vick, and had a little run with Nick Foles in his rookie year. Things didn't work out, and he had to move on. And you see what he's doing in KC. Took Alex Smith's game to another level. Now he's got this young phenom in Patrick Mahomes. So there is precedent for a guy who, kind of wears out his welcome, has a long run, and wins. But, a change of scenery is best for everybody. And one more thing is McCarthy got a Super Bowl ring. Andy Reid has got a lot of bona fides, but he don't have a Super Bowl ring. Mike McCarthy got a Super Bowl ring. So always remember that. Always remember that. But the stability of this team has been like never before. Never before. 20 years. I would say this is the most stable the Bills organization has been in almost 20 years, with coaching, the organizational structure, the front office management, the brass, ownership, the structure of all those things, and let alone just, I feel like where the team is from a talent perspective. I know there's areas of need, but in the key areas like quarterback, you got young playmaker at linebacker, 2 young playmakers at linebacker. You have a really good young secondary. You have a very, very advantageous cap situation. You have a full allotment of draft picks. You have a new health and wellness, strength and conditioning facility being erected, going to be ready to go by the time free agents start touring. Rookies start touring the facility that when they bring in for their visits. So again, this is the most, and people, I had a conversation with a fellow Bills fan, how that stuff really doesn't matter. It matters. We get excited as just regular everyday lay people about cool new stuff at work. Oh, there's this cool new tool or this cool new thing. Oh, we get to use play. Imagine them. Things like, acupuncture rehab, cryotherapy, massage therapy, yoga therapy, all different types of, gravity chambers and sleep pods, and, whole new weight room with that. I'm into that stuff. So I love it, with all new amenities. That's where it's at. And they're going to love that. current and new players are going to love it. So it matters. New facilities matter. So from the whole picture, it's just the best, most stable this Bills organization has been in a long, long time, and it's very, very comforting, extremely comforting. And I just was like, wow. I mean, it's just so weird not having an off season of looking for a head coach, quarterback, all the other big ticket pieces you need to have a stable football team franchise. And I'm not saying the Bills are a model of that, but they're hopefully in the infantile stages of becoming that. I mean, full 2 years in, and there's been ups, but there's been downs. But I think we can start to see more ups than downs going forward. Wild card weekend was just this past weekend, and I saw some scuttlebutt amongst some fellow Bills fans. And you know what? I've kind of changed my view, my stance on something over this past week. I used to be, try to love everybody up, try to like, hey, I'm not going to root for this guy to fail. I'm not going to root for him to this, that. And I was thinking, I was like, fuck that. Fuck that. This is sports. Why should I want a guy on another team to succeed? Why should I have any rooting interest or vested interest in whether Sam Darnold is good? Jet fans shouldn't want Josh Allen to be good. Miami Dolphins shouldn't want Sam Darnold or Josh Allen to be good. And we should all want Tom Brady to retire. I shouldn't root for Lamar Jackson. Why do I care about Lamar Jackson? I mean, and I'll say it. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm not going to run from it. There's a lot of media honks who are nothing but servants to their puppet masters who will just, depend on what day it is, which master they got to serve. They just don't want to criticize a quarterback of color because they were afraid of just any hint of racism. And what happened was people, Bills fans in particular, were kind of like, you know what, this is our time to start fighting back against all those all season who went like they just made they had their little day in the sun laugh at Josh Allen for whatever reason during a regular season. And all those same people got so prickly and hot under the collar, whether they be mostly mainstream media types, if Lamar Jackson was being criticized. He was a 21-year-old kid having a rough game in his first playoff game. I get it. But for Bills fans who took umbrage with that all year and took their opportunity to snap back and be like, hey, why aren't you criticizing him? You criticize this 21-year-old rookie but now it's okay for this 21-year-old rookie to have a bad game. But all season, it was not okay for him. He was terrible. This kid, there's an excuse for him. The same criticisms, the same critiques, the same deficiencies. Josh Allen never had a bad. I mean, he's got, he had his rough parts, but that was tough. That was tough. Maybe Green Bay, but they crossed the 50 a few times. They just, they just never got anything out of it. But still, and if Bills fans wanted to bite back at that, good for them. Go ahead. I ain't going to hold it against you. But then you had some other self-righteous, sanctimonious, Bills fans trying to call out other Bills fans for, if you want to justify Allen if you want to justify Allen. No, that's sports. You know what? Take that cupcake shit somewhere else. If you don't want the banter, you don't want the back and forth, and if you can't handle it, this ain't for you. This ain't for you. Sorry, sports ain't for you. I ain't gonna try to hug everybody, love everybody, blah blah blah. You know what? Lamar Jackson fell on his ass this first. Sucks for him. That's it. Sucks for him. Too bad. That's sports. And if I want to critique him or say something on Twitter, damn right I'm gonna. So what? But I also said, he's 21. He had a rough game. He'll get better. There's balance there. I get that. But if I want to have my little say like, hey, where's that same critique? I'm going to say that too. I can say that too. You can be critical and fair at the same time. It's okay. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that with the coaching hires. And I get it. Minority coaching hires, this and that. A lot of those guys deserve to be fired. Steve Wilkes, okay. 1 year, that's a little much. 1 year with a rookie quarterback and that team, A terrible offensive line to begin with, an aging, Larry Fitzgerald, the best professionals ever at any position, let alone wide receiver, which has long been known as a diva position. To show him the door after 1 year is tough. And then to hire Cliff Kingsbury. All right, if you want to hire Kingsbury, but why is the guy that just hired Wilkes getting to hire Kingsbury? He should be gone too. Steve Keim should be out the door. And that has nothing to do with race. That has to do with production, track record. His drafts have not been good. He's not infused that team with talent. Same thing here in New York. Todd Bowles is gone. Why ain't Mike McCagnon with him? Mike McCagnon drafted all these players, and his defenders will want to run out and say, well, Jamal Adams, what? The guy in the 300 section could have picked Jamal Adams. Who else he got? Want to say Darnold? Yeah, Darnold, great. Had to trade three second-round picks to go up 3 spots. Fine, you make that move for the quarterback, but where's everything else? Been there for going on 5 years. Walked in with a top 6 pick, $100 million in cap space. Where is it? Gave a bunch of money to Mo Wilkerson, which has been traded away. Gave a bunch of money to this guy, that guy, gone. Brandon Marshall, gone, old. Offensive line, not that great. First-round pick, Darren Lee, suspended for PEDs, talking about trading Leonard Williams, the first pick he made when he walked in the door, because they don't want to pick up the $14 million option. Gave $70 million to Tremaine Johnson, who cursed out coaches, skipped meetings, walked off a practice field, didn't show up. Yeah, second-round pick for a quarterback who never saw the field, and Christian Hackenberg on a team that had Ryan Fitzpatrick and Bryce Petty, and that guy can't even see the field. What's this guy looking at? Come on. He keeps his job. He gets to help hire the next head coach, who ends up being Adam Gase. Come on. Why? That he should be gone. Has nothing to do with race. Has everything to do with production and who the right guy for the job is. That's it. That's why it's called the Rooney Rule. They were set to hand the job, I believe, to was it Mike McCarthy or one of their assistants? I'm not sure. But then they interviewed Tomlin, and they saw he was the best candidate for the job, and he's proven to be so. Point blank. They had a rough patch here and there. They're trying to rectify their situation this year with some distractions with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, some assistant coaches. That stuff happens. But he's done a phenomenal job. And it has nothing to do with it. He's the right man for the job. Brian Flores just got hired in Miami. Let's see. Am I going to root for Brian Flores? No. Nor should Dolphin fans root for the Bills. That's sports. But we'll see what kind of job he does. Only time will tell. Just some of these other hires too are head scratching. That's all. I'm all about fair and impartial. I said if the Jets weren't going to hire McCarthy, they should have hired Jim Caldwell. He's got a proven track record of working with quarterbacks. Took a Lions organization, a Lions team, a Lions quarterback. They had 11-5. I think he had a couple of 9-7s in there, but he's not Quinn's guy. Quinn got his boy in there from New England. So that's the way it works. A lot of the NFL's it's country clubs, good old boys. Get my buddies in here. You got Matt Patricia. He's got baby Belichick. But they took major steps back from 9-7. So how good is he? I advocated, Jim Caldwell. He's older, but I think that's what I was telling Jeff fans. That's what I think this situation required. Non-biased opinion. I think it requires a steady hand, a guy who's done it before, a guy who's won before, a guy who's worked with great quarterbacks. He was with Peyton Manning a long time, a hell of a lot longer than Adam Gase ever was in his prime, and so again, this is about the right man for the job. That's all. But back to the Bills. I've rambled on enough about other things. Quarterbacks. Haskins coming out this year. We got, he declared Kyler Murray. There was their backup quarterback said he was going into the transfer portal or whatever the hell that is. I know Tyree Jackson from UB said he was going in, and he didn't end up, staying in within that. He ended up declaring for the NFL draft. So take that for what it's worth. I think, again, like I said on Twitter, the more quarterbacks that are in this pool that have first-round potential, the better it is for the Bills, whether it's at 9, a trade down, or at their first pick in the second round. Because I think there's 5, 6 quarterbacks that can go within that range. Will Grier, Murray, Ryan Finley, Locke, Jones, and Haskins. And that's 6 more players the Bills are going to have a crack at as opposed to not. That's an advantageous thing. Drives more talent down to the Bills, particularly at 9, where they can potentially get a big, reel in a big-time defensive player, which is what I'm hoping for. Shady tweeted out national championship game that he was, he'd love one of those Bama linemen. Then he later deleted it, and I thought that was kind of weak on his behalf. I felt like he should have kept it up there. The only tried and true starter that's probably going to be starting for you is Deion Dawkins, and he's there. Everybody else is pretty much, maybe Wyatt Teller. Still, he's a second-year player. Own that shit, Shady. Don't delete that. Don't delete that. That was I felt that was weak in my opinion. I didn't like that he deleted that. I felt like he should have kept that up. Bills signed CFL leading wide receiver in yardage, 11 touchdowns. He had some 87 catches. Duke Williams. I don't want to call him just Duke Williams because people are going to get it confused with the safety, former Bill Duke Williams. Guy had a little bit of cup of coffee in the NFL. He was, supposedly a really up-and-coming prospect at Auburn. I remember hearing his name bandied about 2016, but nothing really ever came of anything with him. Kind of fizzled out, didn't run particularly well at the combine, probably didn't have his head on straight. He admitted as much. Ran in the 4.7s, but there's been other guys that have run terribly at the combine, like Jarvis Landry, Keenan Allen, and they've gone on to have productive NFL careers. So maybe this guy, like I was talking with Eric on IG, high risk, low reward. Maybe the guy comes in, ends up being a piece, catch 50 passes, wins 50-50 balls. Who knows? He's a very affordable contract. So we'll see. Or he can end up getting cut in rookie. Who knows? But still, it's a position they've churned since walking through the door. Whether it was, McDermott in his early days, drafting Zay Jones, trade, unable to sign some people, then, Anquan Bolden trying to chase Jeremy, his name escapes me right now, Jeremy Maclin, didn't really do much with the Ravens. And, trading Sammy, Jordan, we know all the list, trying to get Kelvin in there, and things not working out. So that's a position they've really, really churned, and nothing's really stuck until this year. I mean, Zay's plays emerged, as we all know, especially the last 6 games of the year. Really, his play really took off. And then Robert Foster, was turned into that big play guy that they had been long looking for, the field stretcher, the guy that seemed like he was the true X receiver in this offense, and the guy that drew the best coverage from the other team's cornerback, which is, this guy could be something. So I feel like those are 2 spots that are definitely solidified. But everything else, Isaiah McKenzie's gonna have to fight for his roster spot, even though he did some okay things. I think a guy like Ray McLeod, he's not a guaranteed to make the roster, even though he's a draft pick. So we'll see. So early. Had a little bit of fun in the national championship game, keeping on that. Trevor Lawrence saying, teams, owners readjusting their draft strategies to want to try to trade it. And I was tongue in cheek. I recognize Trevor Lawrence is a phenomenal talent. Somebody's going to be bad enough yet lucky enough to be number 1 to take him. And if they are, they're not trading that pick to anybody. They're going to stay right there and take Trevor Lawrence. Just like Tua. Tua's not the natural pure thrower Lawrence is, but he's a hell of a quarterback and made legitimate NFL throws in that game and throughout the entire season. And, he was that huge, raw, big ticket guy. true freshman quarterback in the national championship game last year against Georgia. Everybody went gaga over. And he's going to be the first overall pick this coming after this in the 2020 draft. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I said that kind of tongue in cheek about teams wanting to tank, because you can't do that as an organization, especially if you're a coach or front office. The owner could say that dumb shit, but you're like, dude, if I do, you fire me. And if we are bad enough, I ain't going to get to make that pick. And I ain't going to get to enjoy all this cap space I create. Somebody else is going to do it. Look in Cleveland. That was the plan with the Jets. Idzik created all that cap space, got up in the top, 10 of the draft. They didn't get to enjoy that. They got fired. Him and Rex, they got canned. Sashi Brown. Hugh Jackson was a horrible head coach and should have been in no position to even attempt to enjoy it. He should have been fired because he's just a bad head coach. Still, Sashi was the one making all the moves. That was the plan, and he did it, but he got fired for it. And Dorsey gets to make all the picks, and he made some good picks. Can't deny that. With Ward, Mayfield, Chubb, the Austin Corbett guy, who we'll see what he does. Sorry, I'm a football junkie. I know everybody's rosters by like the back of my hand. And back to these coaching hires, the whole offensive guru flavor of the week thing, everybody's kind of had their little say about that. I think people fall in love with play callers because play callers doesn't equal leaders. And just because a guy is good at calling a game doesn't mean he's good at commanding a room or leading a group of men. It's a completely different dynamic. And I think a lot of times owners, they hear the noise, they buy into the hype. They're no different than us. They're people. People, they love the glitz and the glamour and the dazzle. They don't like the steady Eddie grind, hard work, all that stuff. It has no pizzazz. It has no sizzle. So they're always looking for something to sell. They're always looking for something to put on a billboard. That's the way owners think. Same with quarterbacks. That's why I feel the Bills at 9 are in a very advantageous position. Somebody's going to either try to trade up, or they're up above the Bills, or they're going to be right at the Bills and try to trade with the Bills to take a quarterback. And that's great for the Bills. All right, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Rambled on. I went live. Nobody came in. It's all good. I'll just take this as a regular upload and just keep it up. You guys enjoy it. Do what you will with it. Mock it. Praise it. Have fun with it. I leave it up. I own it. And I'm not going to run from anything I say. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. It happens. Everybody lands on jackpot sometimes, right? No different than the rest of you guys. Have a great weekend. Take care. Be safe. Go Bills. These coaching vacancies still unfulfilled, though. I was going to touch on that, but I kind of went on a little tangent there. Still, the offensive line, special teams, and wide receiver coach open. I know the Senior Bowl's coming up. That's like a, informal. That's like a sort of a job fair for assistant coaches. Kugler ended up catching on in Tampa Bay. Keith Armstrong, same thing. Wide receiver coach, I haven't heard any news about that. So we'll see where it goes. I'm sure they'll put out a big press release, I'm sure, of the changes and the hires once they're all, set in stone. Have a good one, Bills fans. Take care. Enjoy. Like I said before, have a great weekend. Be safe.